The captains in Black Clover are some of the most powerful characters in the entire series. They are adaptable, smart, creative, imaginative, one even inspired enough to make an entire universe with their dreams, and another being strong enough to slice said universe in two. These people are known as the paragons of power, not only in the Clover Kingdom, but the entire story. 9 squads make up the vast Clover Kingdom military, and of these warriors, only 9 can get the title of Grand Magic Knight, the official title name of a brigade captain. While each one of these characters are incredibly powerful and worthy, their ranking of power amongst them is hotly debated. Because these characters are powerful, important to the series, and well loved by the fandom, fights will break out in said fandom on who they believe to be the strongest. In today's video, I wanted to go over my own analysis of ranking the Clover captains in the Spade saga. Of course, this list will change in the future when Black Clover is done with its hiatus and it starts its final saga. But as of the first 331 chapters of the series, this is what I believe to be the most accurate list that one could possibly make on the topic. I believe it's important to mention that I will be including Marioliona on this list, even though she is not a captain anymore, and wasn't one at all in the Spade saga. But the reason why I will put her on the list is that she was the interim captain for the Crimson Lion Kings for the majority of the series, as Fuegoleon was knocked into a coma in one of the first arcs and didn't wake up until the end of the first saga. Also, she's a fan favorite character and is one of the strongest captains on the list, so it would not feel right leaving her off of it. Plus, it rounds out the list to 10 characters. I also don't want to deal with the numerous "where is Marioliona" comments that would overflow my comment section. As for other former captains like Geldre, I will not be including him, for similar reasoning. Geldre is weak, nobody likes him, and he was barely even a captain in the series, as he was outed less than halfway through the first saga. One thing I specifically want to go over before getting into the ranking is discussing episode 151 of the anime and how it added content to the Black Clover universe by having a 4 vs 4 captains clash to build morale for the citizenry and the other Magic Knights. During this fight, it essentially showed that all the featured captains were relative to each other, that none were drastically weaker or stronger than the others. But keep in mind that this can't really be used to justify the same notion for the Spade saga, as this took place very early in the time skip. While some time had passed since the end of the Elf saga, Asta and the Heart Squad hadn't left to go join with the Spirit Guardians yet, which means that the power levels of the captains could have, and did, change drastically based on their different training modalities they went with during the time skip. So using this episode to justify saying that all captains are equal is not going to work here. So with that being said, let's start with the weakest captain of the Clover Kingdom. There are pretty clearly 2 captains that I immediately thought of as the 2 weakest, that being Kaiser of the Purple Orcas and Dorothy of the Coral Peacock. And while you might immediately get mad at me for bringing Dorothy so low, I think I can convince you with my justifications. I can also convince you that Kaiser is not really that weak, despite being one of the last on the list. Kaiser really hasn't done much on his own, as all he did in the mid-time skip was scale to at least relative to other captains, as his vortex magic could dispel the magic of the other captains in the battle. But when it comes to actual post-time skip stuff, his really best and only showing is slowing down the ancient demon that approached the Clover capital. This ancient demon is still actually pretty downplayed by the fandom, but Asta actually bum rushed the ancient demon's magical attack while he was in his black form 2 with Black Divider activated, and he was not strong enough to destroy it. Keep in mind that a stamina depraved Black Form 2 Asta could defeat 80% Dante, and this was a much stronger Asta with his full stamina with Black Divider actually activated, and he could not destroy this pure magical attack of the Ancient Demon. Which means that Kaiser slowed down a beast with the power that is way stronger than the 80% Triad. When you compare this to Dorothy, she got bodied by 80% Morris. It really is hard to scale Morris at all, as we don't know how his base power scales, but he is likely weaker than 80% Dante because it's not likely that Morris's base power is at Dante's level. And when Morris lost to the Black Bulls, none of the stronger bulls like Charmy, Noelle, Luck, or even Asta felt the need to transform to stop him. While many people will wank Dorothy's powers because she has dream magic and people will just say that she can beat anybody because she can just dream that she'll win, but her dreams are still limited to her magic power, as she couldn't even defeat Yami, as she imagined 16 clones of him and he was able to still fight them while falling asleep. What this means is that if she summons an opponent into her glamour world, If they are strong enough to survive, they can eventually defeat her and win, and escape her glamour world. Dorothy was actually damaged in her glamour world by Morris, as proven here, and while I do think that Dorothy versus Kaiser would be a good battle, it is more to note that Kaiser still likely loses, as though he does have a more impressive feat than her by slowing down the ancient demon, but that was a shared feat, as he needed the shared power of a squad to help him slow down. And all it did was slow the demon down. It wasn't like he defeated the demon. Whereas Dorothy fought Morris by herself and lost partially due to a bad magic matchup, as modification magic with devil power allowed Morris to affect concepts such as dreams. But keep in mind, if there does end up being evidence that despite the help, Kaiser held most of the power responsible in slowing the demon, he could actually probably defeat Dorothy, as his vortex magic would likely just disperse her dream magic from even summoning him into the glamour world. But as of now, because it was a shared feat, I'll have to say that Dorothy is above Kaiser on the list. So that means Kaiser at 10th, Dorothy at 9th, and coming in at 8th is Charlotte Rosalie of the Blue Rose Knights. Now, it's kind of hard to scale Charlotte in her base form, but you can actually get a decent basis for her power level, as she goes against the Diamond Generals, and you could argue she's stronger than at least one of them at a time, because it took both of their powers together to destroy her Briar spell. And while you could argue that you can't really scale these Diamond Generals at all, because all we know is that pre-time skip they were as strong as Elf Arc Captains, as Magna stated so. But these are characters that were then amped by Vanika's curses, as well as Morris's sorcery science. While that would be seemingly unquantifiable, but because Vanika actually considered post-time skip Valkyrie Noelle weak, and that she needed to get stronger to fight her, but she actually considered the Diamond Generals tough, and that was essentially her test that would have been meant for Noelle, is that Noelle would have needed to defeat these Diamond Generals to show that Noelle was strong enough now, but she used this test for Charlotte and Rill. Then you can actually argue that base Charlotte is above Valkyrie Noelle from the post-time skip, as in the one that fought 70% Vanika, which means that she in her base would be more than relative to a 70% Vanika already, thus making her way above that power when she uses actual true magic, and then Mana Method as well. Now the reason that I have Charlotte above Dorothy is similar reasoning from the last matchup. Charlotte bodied Vanika at her full power, and then when she leveled up to 100% devil power, she's able to have a 2-on-2 elongated matchup with her, Rill, and Kursula Lopechka. She was strong enough to parry and hold off a blood magic attack from 100% Vanika, was fast enough to dodge her attacks, and took multiple hits from her without being one-hit knockout. What this means is that Charlotte would be so fast and strong that she'd likely be able to dodge Dorothy's spell that would summon her to the glamour world, and then decimate her in battle. Though even if Dorothy were somehow able to trap Charlotte in glamour world, Briar Queen Charlotte should still be more than strong enough and fast enough to defeat her in her own world. As if a boost in 1% of a Triad's devil power is a big increase, then Charlotte holding her own against someone who has 20 phenomenal increases in power above the character that Dorothy got bodied by, as Morris's devil power looked to be 80%. So that would mean that Charlotte should be able to defeat Dorothy even if she did get summoned into glamour world. Which brings me to number 7 on the list, Jack the Ripper of the Green Mantis, a cult favorite amongst the fandom, and a character that I've enjoyed since its introduction. Jack the Ripper's power scaling also stems from him battling against 80% Dante. While Jack struggled at first, once he went through the flashback of his father and his duel with nature, it let him level up his slash magic to encompass blades across his body, making him able to withstand Dante's gravity and easily slash him and destroy a singularity. Jack kind of gets hated on because he did get bodied by 100% Dante eventually, and that Dante would lose to Magna, but Magna is a really interesting case, and that does not mean that Jack is weak by any means, as he did not get a fair shot, as he was taken off guard and attacked by Lilith and Namaz, Devil Fire, and Devil Ice. This sent him flying back into a wall, and since their fire and ice could burn concepts, they actually cut off Jack's blades, making him have less blades, and severely weaken him, as some of the blades were destroyed, some were damaged. But then he was forced to fight 100% Dante by himself right after getting attacked by Lilith and Namaz. And in fact, while weakened, Dante actually summoned Jack towards him with gravity magic and uses heavy infighting on him, sicking multiple gravity reinforced punches on him, with Jack surviving these attacks, as would be shown in chapter 291, that Jack was still in the fight after taking all of these blows from Dante. The reason why Jack scales above Charlotte is that he had to fight an amped 100% Dante, while he himself was nerfed, taking damage from Lilith and Namaz. Whereas Charlotte fought a nerfed 100% Vanika while she was amped, as her anti-curse spell essentially forced Vanica to only use her blood magic, and she was using the curses to power herself. And Dante was actually amped by Morris's modification magic, which made him a lot stronger. So because of this, Jack would likely win in a battle against Charlotte if the two started in their base forms and worked their way up. While Charlotte's Briars are a lot less straightforward than Jack's slashes, his attacks do increase in both power and speed with each strike, giving him another clear advantage against the Queen of Briars. So even if you have gripes with where I put Kaiser and Dorothy, not only does Jack have the power advantages over them both, but his magic type would also give him an advantage as well, as he would adapt to both their types of spells. At number 6 on this list is someone that a lot of you likely envision to be a lot weaker and lower on the list, and will be surprised when I say it, but that it is Rill Bosmortier of the Azure Deer, who is rightfully considered a weak captain by myself and the fandom for the majority of his appearances in Black Clover. And he can be blamed for that, as he did lose his battle against Spirit Divino in the Royal Knight Selection exam, and despite getting an elven boost in power, got bodied by Charmy, and then in the middle of the time skip, was left out of the captain's battle royale, and was forced to stay home on the couch and watch it. But what he did in the Spade Kingdom arc solidified him as a Chad, as he pretty easily negged a combo spell from 2 Diamond Generals. These Diamond Generals were confirmed to be as strong as captains in the Elf arc by Magna when he saw Xenon whoop on them, and now they were both amped by both of Vanica's curses and Morris's sorcery science. This was the same attack that base Charlotte's magic got destroyed by, which means that Rill is well above base Charlotte, which is confirmed when Vanica said that Charlotte was actually going to hold Rill back. Keep in mind that Rill wasn't using true magic nor runes or arrays to power this spell, so this is not even close to his full power. Rill only gets more impressive when he was shown to be capable of fighting in the 2v2 battle with Charlotte, 100% Vanica, and Cursed Lolopechka. Rill was fast enough to dodge Vanica's blood magic, survive multiple spells from her, and even parried a blood spell from Vanica here. So he's relative to 100% Vanica on his own, whereas Charlotte had to steal curse power to do so. But Rill's true power that puts him above the other captains below him is his penultimate spell, Twilight Valhalla. This allows him to sidestep damage while it's active and prevent death, and drastically increase the level of his magic power and his allies around him, while also creating an army of Valkyrie. We know that Rill's drawings scale to his magic power since they are his spells, which puts these Valkyries at Supreme Devil level, since he was already relative to a Supreme Devil, and then got a massive amp in power on top of that. This is supported by him being able to defeat Megicula's disciple, where she granted dead disciples devil power, as well as the power of Vanica and Acier. The Megicula disciples were strong enough so that a few of them were a threat to Saint Noel, and even base Asta, the same base Asta who was strong enough to withstand Devil Lolopechka's exploding life, as well as negging it. He could also create Lord of Valhalla, who is way stronger than the Valkyries, as he can easily destroy several of the devil disciples at once, as well as fighting the giant disciples, who are comprised of many of the regular disciples combined. So yeah, Rill would straight up body any of the captains below him, as he wouldn't take any of their damage even if they could, and he could create an army of Valkyrie that would each be individually stronger than the captains below him. Not even Jack could destroy Valhalla, as Megicula tried to destroy the structure, but was not strong enough to fully do it. So yeah, the Rill slander needs to stop immediately. Number 5 is an easily overlooked captain, Nozel Silva of the Silver Eagles. His scaling is actually very straightforward and easy to show, so he'll likely be discussed for the shortest amount of time. As Nozel would arrive toward the end of the battle with Megicula, Noelle was trapped in the curse array with spells approaching her. Nozel's Mercury came out of nowhere and outsped Megicula's attacks and tanked the attack. He then was able to take several hits from Megicula as they both hurled their magic at each other, and then he completely dissolved her body, and he would have killed her had he been Arcane or Saint Stage, but he just didn't have that type of magic. Well, this still means that his stats and his power scales to 1/3 Manifested Megicula, so put some respect on Nozel Silva's name. Now, it's a pretty interesting debate on numbers 3 and 4, as there's different ways you can scale them. The captains I'm talking about are Fogolion and Merliona Vermilion, both of the Crimson Lion Kings. Before I discuss who is stronger of the two, I'll justify why they're actually stronger than Nozel. The reasoning is that both of them were able to withstand Worm Lucifero's gravity, and their combined power destroyed a large part of Lucifero's body, his tail, showing durability, speed, and attack potency that scales to him. Worm Lucifero actually scales above Megicula. The reasoning is that post-Star Magic needed his full Spirit Dive and Eurus to destroy half of Worm Lucifero's body. This would be strong enough to fight Manifested Lucifero. And remember that Nozel scales to Megicula, and despite Nozel being amped by Valhalla, he would get straight bodied by Lucifero. Since Yuno was not amped when he fought Lucifero, yet could actually fight him, and then he did better against an actual Valhalla amped Nozel, that skills Yuno way above base Nozel. And since Nozel scales to Magicula, that means that Yuno scales way above Magicula, and the fact that Yuno needed his full Spirit Dive on a Eurus to destroy only half of Worm Lucifero, then that scales Worm Lucifero above Magicula, thus making it so that if Fulgonion and Mereoleona could actually go against Worm Lucifero, damage him, go against his gravity, scales them both above Nozel. Now I know that a lot of people are just going to put Mirio above Fuego, and I understand why, but it just isn't that simple. Sure, Mirio has the highest peak in her power, as she ended up surpassing her Valhalla amped self with her own power, which would put her way above Fulgonion, but we can't just assume that she's going to start that strong in a battle. Hellfire Incarnate gives Mirio a huge boost in power, and then gets stronger over the course of the fight, but we don't know if she keeps that power after Hellfire wears off, and if it becomes her new base power, or if she keeps that power level when she transforms again, or if she just loses it completely and has to start over. So I'll go over the two outcomes. If Mirio keeps her gains from Hellfire Incarnate, then she would body Fulgonion, as she has greater feats without the Valhalla amp than Fueg does with the Valhalla amp. But if Mereoleona loses the power growth and has to start from scratch, it shifts everything, as if we go back and look, Mereoleona when she first activated Hellfire Incarnate could not kill the wingless ancient demon, but eventually she grew strong enough to kill that much stronger winged demon. It was at this time, after the fight with the demon, that Fuego and Mirio were shown to be equals against Worm Lucifero, which would mean that if they had started in a 1 versus 1 fight, Fulgonion would be much stronger, as Mirio would start with the level of power of a wingless ancient demon, whereas Fulgonion would start with the power to be relative to Worm Lucifero. So it's a very different battle depending on that singular important aspect. So they are pretty interchangeably at 3 or 4 depending on which you believe. Does she keep the gains from Hellfire Incarnate, or if she doesn't? This comes down to the final two captains, William Vengeance of the Golden Dawn and Yami Sukihiro of the Black Bulls. When it comes to magic power, the two should be pretty much equals, as they are written as rivals, and both have comparative feats. As Zenon thought William could have defeated him had he focused on the fight and not saving his fellow Golden Dawn comrades. And Yami would have defeated Dante if not for his body magic regeneration. Now, Yami got amped by the Cliff-Off ritual, but William was shown to be also affected, and there really is no reason to assume that they didn't get the same exact amplification, so their powers should be near equal. Note that it's actually possible that William got an even greater amp than Yami, since Yami's dark magic actually flowed into his World Tree magic, and remember, one of the main functions of William's World Tree magic is to absorb energy to power himself. And remember that many of Yami's best feats against Lucifero are with help, as he wields William's Mistletoe Blade that contains all of his magical power, likely doubling Yami's own power, and he also did Monozone Full Release and paired his spell with Nox's Shadow Magic and a combo spell. So Yami was able to parry a blow from Lucifero, and it stalemated him. He didn't even get knocked back or anything like that. It's not like what happened to Yuno or Mereoleona when they were hit, where it completely messed them up. Yami just completely stabilized when he defended the blow. It did not do anything to him. Now sure, this is with William's blade that's likely doubling his power, but that would still show that he would be above Mereoleona because of what he does later, and because he also has his Monozone Full Release that he can do on top of that. So if William and Yami fought, their actual stats would be pretty equal, and thus it would likely come down to their abilities. Both are very impressive. William is incredibly skilled, and his World Tree magic is very versatile, as he can create attacks with it, ward off strong magics, and heal others. He can even steal the magic of his opponents to empower his own spells. Since William and Yami are equals in magic power, it comes down to skill and attributes. Yami has the physical strength advantage and the reaction speed advantage with Ki, and he also likely negs William's Mistletoe Tree spell, at least its magic stealing effects, as he would activate Black Moon, which negs spells in the area. So because Yami has those slight advantages, the hacks would come into a huge play, as Dark Dimension Slash would be a huge change in the battle, but in actuality, Death Thrust would seem to be the nail in the coffin for William. So that being said, Yami, in my opinion, is the strongest captain, as I predicted months ago, and one of my last ranking videos. Yami just might not be ready for this power scale yet, though I know that he will be when he returns, if he does at least. I wouldn't be surprised if Yami comes from this event stronger. He's probably siphoning energy from the entire ritual as we speak, and Yami is going to come out an even bigger Chad than he actually is currently. So that's the final rankings here. You have Kaiser at 10th, Dorothy at 9th, Charlotte at 8th, Jack at 7th, Rill at 6th, Nozel at 5th, Fuegoleon and Mariana at 4 or 3, depending on how you believe Hellfire works, William at 2, and Yami at 1. Thanks, guys, for watching. I really appreciate all of your support. Please leave a like. Let's shoot for 1,000 likes on this one. You can also subscribe and turn notifications. Follow my Twitter, link down below. And you can join my Discord. It's a brand new Discord called Bronderheim, and you can talk about this video, talk about anything you want in that server. I'll be in there to talk with you guys, so I'll see you in there. Thanks for the support. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Peace out.